Welcome to this explainer. Today, we're taking the official dietary guidelines for heart health and, honestly, we're making them incredibly practical. We're going to look at the engine inside you. So instead of getting bogged down in biology, let's look at this through the lens of engineering. We're going to treat the human cardiovascular system exactly like a high-performance engine that needs the absolute right fuel to run smoothly.
So how does your body's engine actually work? Well, I want you to imagine your entire network of blood vessels as this massive, bustling highway system. Or, an intricate series of pipes and valves inside a masterfully built sports car. Every single second of every day, blood is pumping through the system, right? It's delivering energy and oxygen just to keep you moving. But just like any complex machinery, or let's face it, a really needy sports car, this system requires highly specific daily maintenance. You can't just pour whatever you want into the gas tank and expect to win a race. There's just no way. The exact same rule applies to your cardiovascular highway. What we put into it literally dictates how smoothly the traffic flows.
And this brilliantly illustrates the core concept we're unpacking today, which is fat quality. See, it's not just about how much fat you eat, it's entirely about the kind of fat. Going back to our engine analogy, saturated fats, they're like pouring thick, cheap, unrefined oil right into your engine. Over time, it just creates sludge. It clogs up the gears, causes these massive traffic jams on your vascular highways, and basically forces the engine to work incredibly hard just to turn over. But then, we have unsaturated fats. Think of these as premium, high-grade synthetic oil. This is the really good stuff. It doesn't just lubricate the engine, it actively acts like a fleet of tiny street sweepers, just moving through the system, keeping the traffic flowing perfectly, and ensuring the whole engine is completely tuned up.
Now, you might be wondering, how does this engine analogy translate to the actual medical data? Well, that thick sludge I just mentioned? In the medical world, that's what we call LDL cholesterol. It's a very specific type of cholesterol that builds up on the inner walls of your blood vessels when we consistently use the wrong type of fuel, those saturated fats. And as this gunk accumulates, the space for blood to flow gets narrower and narrower. The pressure builds up. If we just sit back and let this sludge accumulate unchecked, it leads directly to an increased risk of severe system failures, specifically heart attacks and strokes. So it's a mechanical problem, but with a very real biological consequence.
But hey, here is the fantastic news. We actually have total control over the maintenance schedule. We don't have to just sit around and let the sludge build up. By following the official health recommendations, we can essentially hire a dedicated maintenance crew to get in there and clear out the engine. And we're not talking about medications or complex treatments here. These are everyday, totally accessible foods that naturally contain that premium, unsaturated synthetic oil our bodies desperately need to clear those highways.
So let's meet your premium fuel heroes. The official dietary guidelines specifically point to fatty fish, like salmon, mackerel, and sardines. Salmon in particular is an absolute champion of this premium fuel. Think of a rich fillet of salmon not just as your dinner, but as a direct deposit of high-grade lubrication for your cardiovascular system. Then we have our cooking oils. Rapeseed oil, which is often called canola oil depending on where you live, and olive oil are complete powerhouses. Seriously, just using rapeseed oil is one of the easiest, most effective ways to upgrade your engine's performance without even thinking about it. Add in some avocados, nuts, and seeds, and you've got yourself a complete toolkit for premium engine maintenance.
Okay, let's move to the next step. How does this actually translate into actionable habits? Because it's one thing to know what the premium fuel is, right? But how do we actually get it into the engine efficiently? The goal here is definitely not some massive, stressful overhaul of your entire life. The official recommendations actually focus heavily on upgrading your fuel with incredibly simple daily swaps. It's really just about identifying where you might be using that heavy, cheap oil and simply reaching for the premium synthetic oil instead. Let's look at what that actually means in the kitchen.
The practical roadmap for this is incredibly straightforward. The official advice specifically recommends replacing the sludge, so things like butter and fatty dairy, with rapeseed oil, olive oil, or a soft margarine. So, say you're cooking up a stir-fry. Instead of dropping a big pat of butter into the pan, you just use a splash of rapeseed oil. It's this tiny, barely noticeable physical motion in the kitchen, but it drastically changes the chemical reality inside your blood vessels. Same thing with meat. The guidelines suggest swapping out those heavier, fatty meat products for fish, legumes like beans and lentils, and just leaner alternatives in general. You are literally taking the roadblocks out of your diet and replacing them with premium oil.
Now, getting your fat quality right is a real game changer. Absolutely crucial. But any good mechanic will tell you that a well-maintained engine needs a bit more than just an oil change, right? The source material outlines a holistic approach, showing us that our premium oil actually works best when the entire engine environment is optimized.
So here is the full, positive checklist from the official Heart Healthy advice. And I love this because it's incredibly encouraging. It focuses on abundance, on what we should actually be adding to our plates. We want to be eating more vegetables, fruits, and berries every single day. Think of these as the vitamins and antioxidants that act like rust-proofing for your blood vessels. We also need to increase whole grains. A special shout out to oats here, which are phenomenal for heart health. And as we've been talking about, we want to consistently choose those premium fuel sources, fish, nuts, legumes, and actively swapping saturated fat for unsaturated fat. I mean, imagine starting your day with a bowl of oats topped with some berries and a handful of nuts. Boom, you've just given your engine a massive head start before you've even left the house.
All right, to keep things perfectly balanced, we do need to look at the other side of the manual. These are the fuel elements that cause excessive wear and tear. The official guidelines clearly state that to prevent long-term engine damage, we should actively work to reduce our intake of salt, sugar, ultra-processed foods, and red and processed meats. These specific elements basically create conditions that make it way harder for your cardiovascular system to operate at peak efficiency. Lessening their presence in your daily routine just gives your premium fuel heroes a much easier job to do.
Okay, all of this brings us to the ultimate question, the so what? Let's bring all these practical choices together and look at the massive, life-altering medical payoff.
The crucial takeaway is this. The source data is absolutely unequivocal about the payoff. When you adopt a diet with favorable fat quality, when you consistently choose that premium oil, you actively lower that dangerous LDL cholesterol. You literally dissolve the sludge that's threatening to block your vascular highways. And by doing that, you significantly reduce your overall risk of suffering a heart attack, and you significantly reduce your risk of suffering a stroke. This isn't just about, feeling a little bit more energetic on a Tuesday afternoon. This is about fundamentally protecting the engine that keeps you alive, extending its lifespan, and making sure it runs powerfully for decades to come.
Wow, okay, we've covered a lot of ground today. From the highways of your blood vessels to the incredible power of things like salmon and rapeseed oil. And the really beautiful thing here is that every single meal is a brand new opportunity to perform maintenance. You are the chief mechanic of your own body. So I'm going to leave you with this final thought as we wrap up this explainer. Knowing what you know now about the sludge versus the premium synthetic oil, what kind of fuel will you choose for your engine tomorrow? Just think about that the next time you're at the grocery store or cooking up a meal in your kitchen. Thanks so much for joining me. Keep learning, and I'll catch you on the next one.